Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen, and I'm back with a vengeance at MikeColleen.com. Alright, so for most of you that have been following my channel for the last 2+ years, 3 years, it is time for you to take back your power, to step into your power and start taking action. Alright, a personal announcement. I have been, I'm not allowed to say much, but I've been working efficiently with the police for more than a year now, and so far we've gotten 2 people arrested. So I guess what I'm trying to put out there is it's time to step into your power and start taking action. Stop being a victim, stop being a wimp, because you don't have to live that way. You can, you know, the reason why I make these videos is so you guys start to have realizations that you have a lot more power than you ever thought. Okay, let me actually say this much more correctly. I got 2 people arrested. Yes, the police were involved. Okay, so today's video is going to be about something called triangulation. Alright, so most of you probably already know what it is, but some of you don't, and I'm going to give you a very basic explanation of what it is. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually share with you 1, 2, 3 stories from my life, personal stories, things that have happened to me and that I've experienced. And the last one is actually, if someone in my family, a brother, is listening, he's going to finally realize why people had a certain perspective of him. Now, if you've been studying narcissist abuse, you already know, like, well, because these people were talking shit behind your back, they were lying about you, and all kinds of stuff. So we all know about that. So I'm going to leave it at that. So let's get to the video. You know, it didn't dawn on me until I started learning about narcissist abuse that I should have contacted my brother years ago, but I didn't really understand what had happened. I mean, I saw it, I was there, I didn't understand it, but until I really understood narcissist abuse, I was like, oh, this is what they did to him. So, all right, let's get to the video. All right, so hopefully this video, if he hears it, helps relieve a lot of pain and suffering. So that's actually one of the intentions. All right, so Joe Rogan was talking about, there's a video of this crow up on a rooftop, and there's like 2 rooftops kind of close to each other at the corners, and there's a cat on each side. Well, what the crow does is he basically pisses off both the cats and then turns the cats against each other. So essentially that's triangulation, and I'll explain a little bit more in depth. But first, when we come to this video, the crow goes behind one of the cats and starts literally like nipping at it and poking in the butt really hard, like really sharp, and the cat's getting really pissed. And then what he does, he turns back around to look at the other cat. Now he's pissed off looking at the other cat, so now he's this is a hypnosis, NLP, or even like a psychology thing. Pavlov's dog, he's associating this to the other cat, and then the crow flies over to the other side and then starts poking that cat really sharp, really hard. And it's hurting these cats, and the cats are getting really pissed off. And then the crow backs off, and they look at each other. And while they're looking at each other, the crow pokes them in the ass again, then flies over the other one. And at this point, the cats are just extremely pissed off at each other. This is the crow. You can see the crow above Joe's head on the left side, barely, because it kind of blends into the snow. And the cat, this is one of the cats. And on the other side, you can see the corner there. So basically, essentially what happens is, this cat that we're looking at now jumps over to the corner of that where you can barely see the other cat, and they start fighting, and the crow just is sitting back there watching like he's watching a boxing match. Alright, so I'm going to throw in another story first before the other ones. Actually, the other one's an explanation, so this will be 3 stories. So this is the first one. So my mom had a boyfriend, and he lived with us. I was about, I think, 19. And what happened was, I was a national champion kick. No, actually, I was probably about 20, 21 years old at this point now. National champion kickboxing in the IKF, and I was doing really well. I was undefeated. I was 6-0, and he really got into it, man. He actually built some metal ring corners so we could actually have a ring, and you know, he was a welder, but there's a certain style of welding. I forget the name of it, man. So he did like sheet metal, and then he was a welder. So Anyways, what happened was he started coming to practice. He would hold pads, and he was like, we started to get really close. That is a narcissist's worst nightmare. So one day he's all pissed off, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on with it? And he wouldn't say anything. Hey, you all right? What's going on? He just stormed down. He's just fucking pissed. I'm like, oh, what's going on, man? And then next thing you know, my mom goes, oh, yeah, his name was Mike, too. So his nickname was Mikey. They called me Mike and him Mikey. And, oh, yeah, Mikey says this about you and that about you. And I'm like, why would he say that about me? That doesn't make any sense. Like, because he started going to my fights. He was even in my corner a couple times. All right. So next thing you know, my mom's telling me like, oh, he says this about you, and it was just horrible stuff. I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Like, well, why though? And so he comes back home after work, and I try to talk to him. He's like, yeah, fuck you, and he's just all pissed off. I'm like, yeah, well, fuck this guy. And then what happened was he's all mad at me, and I'm mad at him. And my younger brother Joey pointed something out. He goes, don't you understand what's going on? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? He goes, you haven't figured it out yet? And I'm like, figured what out? He goes, look, man, when you're not here, she whispers in his ear and says that you're saying bad stuff about him. I go, I never said anything bad about him. And he goes, yeah, I know, but he doesn't know that. So she's been saying shit into his ear that you're making stuff up, that you're saying bad stuff about him, and now he's fucking pissed off at you. And here's what happens. Mom then talks to you when he's not around and says that he's talking shit about you. So now you're pissed off, he's pissed off. So when he comes home and he looks at you and sees that you're mad, and you look at him, oh, he's mad. Oh, then it must be true. See, that's part of the thing, is when you look at each other, it's like, oh, you're both pissed off. You're like, oh, so that fucker is talking shit, right? It's a huge convincer. So long story short, I was too young, naive. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, and we ended up pretty much never talking again. It was a really icy thing, and that's what narcissists do. They have to make sure everybody is divided and no one's sharing information, because, well, like what my brother Joey did. He shared that bit of information with me. And all of a sudden, I was keying into going, oh, I see what the fuck's going on. Like, you start figuring it out. So I would say for me, that was a fairly young age for me to, I was, even my brother Joey, like even younger. So the reason why narcissists want to keep people separated and divided is if you start getting together and sharing information, like, well, so-and-so told me that you said this about me. See, if we ever got together and talked, we would realize who the culprit was, and that was my mom. But we never did. I wasn't mature enough, apparently, not just mature, but I wasn't knowledgeable. Now, my first thing is I go and talk to someone, and I do everything in my power, like, hey, let's calm down, let's sit down and talk. Like why do you think that? Well, so-and-so said that. Really? That because so-and-so told me that you said this. Like, wait, I never said that. Yeah, I never said that either. And then the two of you get together and you go to so-and-so and you confront them and you call them on their shit hella hard, because what they're going to do is they're going to try all the tricks to get out. Oh, I was just kidding. Oh, I was just joking. Oh, you guys fell for it. It's just a prank. No, it's not a prank. It's not a joke. The only reason why they're saying that is because they got caught. So do not let them off the hook. Do not back down. Call them on their shit. Be loud. Call it hard. And tell them and call them an asshole and you're an MF motherfucker. You can sit there and say, oh, don't ever do it again, but they're gonna do it again. Your only choice when you get around people like this is to get rid of them, cut them out of your life, just be done with them. And if you have to live with them for a certain amount of time before you can move out, just don't even talk to them, just be cold. Okay, so what is the fastest way to discover a narcissist? It is super simple, and you've experienced it a lot. Here's what it is. When people talk behind other people's back to you, they are a narcissist. Get away, block them on your cell phone, block them on your social media, block them on your emails. Don't even, just be gone, be done with them. All right, so here is an example. So there's one person went down to visit. And so in the beginning, I didn't quite pick it up. So we went to a store, and he immediately started talking shit about the cashier just as we were entering the door. And I kind of thought, well, that's pretty negative. But, you know, maybe this guy was a dick to him, so okay. And then we left there, and we went, I don't know, 5 minutes down the road, and we went to another store to get something else. And he started talking about another person there, talking shit about them. Oh, they're this and they're that. And I was, at this point, I'm just going, oh, shit, another fucking backstabbing back talker, right? And I thought, no, you know, maybe not, maybe not. Well, then we went to their work, and sure enough, they started talking about the people that worked there, people that trained there, and I was just going, wait, what the fuck? And that's when I was like, oh, shit. And then we went into a coffee shop, and there was someone that worked there, and a young person, and he was speaking out loud, and I just was like, wow, like, really, dude? Like, so you don't like this? It was really intense, too, and the person could hear him. And I thought, wow, that's really, because the person was actually quite small, and I'm like, and it was very intimidating. I'm like, so you don't like this person that much, and you're still coming into their work to intimidate them? Like, wow, that's really grown up of you, man. And so it was at this point I realized, Houston, we have a problem. So here's my point: if you meet someone and they talk shit about people everywhere they go, it's them. I guarantee it. Alright, so this is going to be another story. It's going to be kind of funny, actually. But it will really show you something, because I bet a lot of you thought the same thing my nephews and nieces thought. So I think it was after my head injury, car accident, and it was probably like 2 years later, I think. Well, I went over there. This was years ago, God, 10, 11 years ago, a while back. And we're all sitting, it's about 2 p.m. or maybe 1 p.m. And there's all my nephews and nieces, not all of them, but a lot of them, were sitting there at this round, kind of long, oblong table thing. And I forget what we were talking about, and I think, I don't remember how we started this conversation, but I'm just going to cut to the gist of it. I was explaining to them, I said, you guys have to understand something. Every time one of you walks out of the room, my mom talks shit about you. Like, oh, no, she's not me. And they all thought they were so fucking special. Oh, not me. And I looked at them, like, and I didn't say this, but I probably should say, oh, you guys are so naive. But they were young. They're probably 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And I was like, I'm telling you. So what ended up happening is my mom entered the room, sat down. Well, what's going on? And, well, nothing, blah, blah, blah. Because about 10 minutes had passed by when I explained that to them. And one of my nephews gets up about 5 minutes later to go to the bathroom, and my mom just dives right on. Oh, he's a little light in the loafers. Yeah, he's a little fairy. He's a little this. And it was just, I was really like, wow, really? You know, you're a grown woman talking about a freaking teenage kid in high school, and you're sitting there saying, like, how fucked up can you be? Like, I didn't say that, but I was looking at her, and all the kids were laughing. Oh, it's so funny. And I was just dead silent. I didn't smile. I was just like really like this dead kind of look in my eye. And they're all laughing, and and you could see their eyes like, wait a minute, Uncle Michael said this. And they all looked at me like, what? And their mouths just dropped like, what the fuck? And my mom just kept rattling off more and more negative shit. And I didn't even nod. I just kind of looked at them like, see, fuckers? And so what ended up happening was, he came back and everyone started talking. I think we started eating food or something like that. So there was like a distraction. And then someone else got up and walked out of the room. And boom, sure enough, she starts talking about them too. And all the kids just looked at me like, what the fuck? So I just kind of nodded and grinned like, told ya. And so I said, well, it's my turn now. And my mom kind of goes, what's your turn? And I just got up and walked out the door. And sure enough, everyone starts freaking looking at me. And my mom's talking. I looked through the window, and their mouths dropped. And they looked at me, and I smiled, and I nodded my head, and I left. Here's the point. So if you think you're so damn special to this person who everywhere you go, he or she talks behind people's backs and says bad things about them, trust me, they have already started talking bad about you to all their friends, to all their associates, and to people, even the people at the stores and the restaurants, etc. that you've been going to. They've been talking shit about you and pissing people off, and either humiliating you or pissing people off against you. So when you walk in there, they have no respect for you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go up to them like, well, how come these people don't like me? What's going on? And they're going to, I don't know. I think you're just taking it too personal. I think you're being too sensitive. I think it's all in your head. They're going to fill you with all this. They're going to deflect, because it's like that cat. They're laughing their ass off watching the two of you, or you and these people, constantly going at it and watching. You just go, I don't understand that. And they watch you because they know you're an empath. You're going to try to make it up with these people. You're going to try to be nice to them, while these people sit there and cut you down. They talk shit and they're mean to you, and they're just laughing their ass off, just like that crow who got in between those two cats. So yes, when you ask me, are they doing this on purpose? Do they know it? Yes, they are professionals. They are doing this absolutely on purpose, and they absolutely know exactly what they're doing. They are literally professionals at this. Okay, so final story. So when we moved back from Wisconsin, I was in, let's see, that 8th grade. So it was literally weeks before. It might have been the summer after 9th grade. But either way, it was the summer. And my older brother was going to drive all the way out from Wisconsin. He was bringing his motorcycle and he's bringing his 3-wheeler. And I think he came with my brother Charlie. I'm trying to remember. But he came with someone. He drove out. So what happened was something that I had never seen before. And it was quite shocking, to be honest with you. So at the time, I absolutely looked up to my brother, my oldest brother. It was like he was damn near a hero to me. I wouldn't say he was quite that level, but I really looked up to him. He was like a big deal to me, man, my whole life. So he had, my mom had called him, and they were talking to each other on the phone, like, hey, come on out. And I forget, I don't know if he just came out to visit for, I think it was about a month, though. He stayed out there for maybe it was 2 weeks. And what happened was, all of a sudden, my mom would talk to my aunt and my uncle, and oh, Shane's no good, Shane's this, and I'm like, look, I'm like, wait, what? Because my mom's, I'd never heard her talk bad about my brother, and I was like, well, I'm like, wait, what? And I remember at one point I was in the kitchen listening to this. I'm like, no, he's not, Mom. That's not true. And she's, oh, Michael, and she just like, okay, shit, like, damn. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? And so she was just going on. Now, mind you, my brother was probably only about 23, 24 at the time. And he was living on his own for the first time in his life, and he was struggling trying to pay his bill. He had a 1-bedroom apartment, and, he had a motorcycle and he had a 3-wheeler, but that was it. It wasn't like he was some rich dude, but she made it out like he was this rich golfer, and he made all this money, and and it was the whole woe was me. Oh, he never sends me money. He's no good. He never sends me money. And he's feeling this into my aunt and uncle's ears. And God, I wish I would have known this years ago to go back and tell my aunt and uncle, because there was just this huge rift between my brother and them. Now, as a kid, I didn't understand the dynamics. I had no clue what was going on. All I know is I couldn't wait for my brother to show up, and me and my younger siblings were excited. I think my older brother might have been pissed off at him. I don't remember that. Not my older brother, but the brother was 1 year older. So long story short, he pulls up, he's exhausted, he drove all the way across country, and my aunt and uncle are just looking at him with this fuck you, like they were pissed. And it was just like, and my mom was just giving this look of a disgust. Now, my mom was really good. Now, if you've dealt with a narcissist, you know how they can just give you this look, and you feel like you're half an inch tall, right? And I just remember looking at my mom like, what are you doing? Like, because we hadn't seen my brother in years. My brother's a good guy. And so, long story short, I remember literally when my aunt and uncle walked away, he was like, whoa, what's going on with them? Because he's thinking like, well, they're just, they must have had a bad day, or they got some bad news. And my mom just did this like noise, and he's like, hey, what's going on? And so as a kid, I didn't understand. I kind of feel guilty. I wish I would have just said, hey, well, Mom's been talking hella shit about you to Uncle Don and Aunt Maureen, and she turned them against you, and they don't like you. So my mom basically gave him the typical blow off, like, oh, don't worry about it, and it's all in your head, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just this like, and that's what they do. It really fucks with your head when someone that you've never offended, never hurt, all of a sudden hates you, and they just don't like you at all. And you're just going, well, what's going on? And they were cold to him the whole damn time. sad thing about it is about 12 and a half years ago, he just called me up randomly and just one day just goes, why does everyone think I'm an asshole? Now, this was right after my car accident. I had a head injury, like really bad, and I just was scrambled. And I didn't know what to say. This story never came out, but it's just really sad that someone has lived their whole life thinking all these people hate them, and it's nothing that they did. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this video helps you to have a real clear understanding of what triangulation is and how people can turn people against each other. And the two parties that are turned against each other don't actually know what's going on, but they end up hating each other.